Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel News live stream. It is Thursday, July 30th, 2020. Holy cow, the summer's just flying by. I am David Menzies, and my co-host is High Energy Andrew Says. And we, of course, are filling in for Ezra Levent. The big boss man is usually in this space, except on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's when I co-host with Sheila Gunn-Reid. But Sheila Gunn-Reid is 30,000 feet above Manitoba or Saskatchewan or something like that.
Above the flat Earth, I believe, David.
Above a flat earther here. This is what I have as a replacement for the lovely she-devil Sheila Gunn-Reid. But Andrew, it's always a pleasure, and this is the point of the show where Sheila usually chimes in and says what exactly we're attempting to do here.
I'm playing the Sheila role today, much to your
Bearded
dismay.
Sheila.
So we bring you some live topics, we talk to you, the fans, and we accept super chats from you, which is a donation that we appreciate in exchange for lovely answers from one David Menzies and myself. And you always know that when you ask David Menzies a question, you'll get a very short and succinct answer out of it.
I just thought of something, super chat. It is indeed super for us. We are receiving the money, and of course YouTube gets its cut. Not so super for the donor, but then again, it is super when you think about it, because this is the money that allows us to bring you the other side of the story, keep the lights on. We don't take any government funding, folks, nor would we take it if it was offered, which would be a cold day in Hades from this Trudeau Liberal government.
Hades, good reference. I thought you were going to turn this into a Superman reference, but instead you've disappointed me as usual.
Well, I don't like to brag, but, Andrew, so many things to talk about. I think, why don't we just quickly recap what happened last night? Personally, I thought it was sad. Although we were able to make lemonade out of lemons, as the saying goes, we were to have our first independent press gallery debate with all the candidates. And at with just a few hours to go before debate time, Dr. Leslyn Lewis, through no fault of her own, said she had to cancel because of a severe ear infection. She was on doctor's orders to rest. And I take her at her word 100%. I don't so much take Peter MacKay at his word, nor do I accept his excuse of, as our lovely colleague said, Sheila Gunn-Reid, earache solidarity. Evidently, because Dr. Lewis had an earache, in support of her earache recovery, he was canceling out. Tell you why
There it is.
Yeah, there's the official...
I love how he puts, I'm open to the possible opportunity of a virtual format. Of course, that's such a Biden thing. You want a virtual format so you can have like notes and stuff and be like, oh, I didn't hear that difficult question, sorry.
Yeah, and whatever I think of when I see a Peter MacKay press release is how many Petro points I have. Anyway, the thing is, folks,
sponsored by Petro Canada?
It's that logo of his. Right?
Oh, okay.
I think there's a copyright infringement lawsuit coming his way. At least if I was a CEO of Petro Canada. Just saying. But here's why, Andrew, I don't think Peter MacKay is being sincere, because we found out later, allegedly, and this was from multiple sources.
Yes, within the party.
Within the party, that Peter MacKay had also booked at the same day and the same time at the Confederation Club in London, Ontario, an appearance there. I have no idea if he showed up there or not, or also left them standing at the altar. Here's the thing, unless Peter MacKay has a body double, unless Peter MacKay has perfected cloning, there was no way he was able to be at two places, separated by hundreds of kilometers at the same time. So my theory, Andrew, and I can't connect the dots why he would do this, is he said yes to the independent press gallery debate, all the while going to cancel at the last minute. I just think, I'm sorry, Peter, this makes you look bad. This is bad form. This is outright rudeness, and it's disrespectful to the other candidates and those in the Conservative Party and Canadians who want to vote Conservative. Like I said, I think it's just terribly bad form on his part, Andrew.
First they cloned the sheep. I think the second thing they cloned was Peter MacKay. What was that, like 1996?
Is there a difference?
In 1996 and now? A little bit. I think...
No, I meant the sheep and Peter MacKay.
Oh, wow. You're such a sheep. I think he was looking for any excuse, and maybe, I said this last night, maybe they were going to show up if they had to, but I think like they were probably sweating in their control room there, like, we need an excuse, we need an excuse, and they got one. He doesn't want to face any tough questions, and props to Derek Sloan for answering pretty much everything we asked. Now, I did have a problem with some of Aaron O'Toole's scrum questions that we had. It was only 10 minutes, so he made sure to give David Menzies length answers of 4 minutes long. One of them was to one of your questions, though, I think.
Is that called ragging the puck, by the way?
So David asked him a question. He takes like 4 minutes to answer a question when there's like 15 people lined up. So we only took, I think, 3 or 4 questions. And one of them was from somebody who works for him. So he's asking him questions about the CBC. He's like, oh, would you defund the CBC? Well, guy whose first name I happen to know. And like he calls nobody else by their first name, but he just so happens to call this guy for his first name. Let me give you my best prepared answer for that. So that was a little sneaky, Mr. Menzies.
Well, what can I say? I mean, he did preface his answer with good question, and I think I was the only one to get a good question salutation. So what do you think about that, high energy, Andrew says?
I think we have a super chat from Copa de Sao for $22. I don't, NOK, is that North Korean dollars? I don't know, what's NOK currency?
Norwegian.
That's a little different from North Korea, according to producer Justin.
Well, you ought to drive a little further east from Pickering these days. Okay?
He says, I don't live in Pickering. The Earth is flat, just ask a neutrino. I don't know what a neutrino is. I think that's like some sort of cellular reference. I don't know.
Well, it would take a scientific explanation, Andrew, of over 4 minutes, so I'll decline to educate you, but I'll do it later, because educating people, folks, is what I do. I don't ask for any money. I don't ask for any thanks. Just the thought that I've made someone like Andrew more intellectual after an explanation is my reward, and I will do that off the air later today.
I seem to remember it was Bill Nye the Science Guy and then David Menzies' Science Hour afterwards. Now, somebody who's near and dear to your heart, someone with the last name that rhymes with Yaniv. Jonathan / Jessica Yaniv. Released, I don't know if this is a rap beef you have going on with her / him, but he released a hot 2020 vid in response to you on Instagram, which was extremely odd, to say the least.
It was inexplicable. Now, the backstory, folks, you can go see our video that was posted a few days ago, I think on Saturday, actually. We were tipped off, actually my colleague Kian Bexley, by a very reliable source, and that person's information was spot on in terms of, the date of arrival, even the hotel he was staying at.
UFO landing, the date of arrival.
Well, Yaniv is an unidentified something object. I'll let you come up with the proper term with the F word.
Object.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Jonathan Yaniv was catfished. Somebody came up with the fake persona online of a mature woman and a sick daughter. And the daughter was put into, allegedly, sick kids hospital. Well, I don't even have to say allegedly. They don't exist, folks. That's the joke of the matter. Evidently, the idea of a minor girl being confined to a hospital bed was so irresistible for Jonathan Yaniv. You can Google that name. You can see all the allegations and all the evidence, for that matter, of his, fetish for dealing with younger girls. That even though the fake person said, do not come to Toronto, do not come to sick kids, well, he came. And he went, evidently, to the hospital. I don't know if he got in. Now, here I am encountering Jonathan Yaniv and Mama Yaniv. Now, here's the first spooky thing. And folks, this is in front of the Pantages Hotel. Jonathan right now is calling the police on me for asking questions on a public sidewalk and making the false police report, I might add, that I was threatening them with a handgun. Of course, because Jonathan identifies as trans, he skates on any kind of charges. Here's the thing I want to say to you, Andrew, before we get to Yaniv's rebuttal, which is something like right out of the Silence of the Lambs. Say you or I, as a mature male, had this horrible predisposition that we are attracted to young girls.
What?
No, which is what, Mr. Producer, don't worry about it. That's what Jonathan came all the way from BC to Toronto to do.
When David Menzies tells you not to worry, you know you can trust.
Yes. Here, what I'm leading up to is, would you bring your mother along for that caper?
They seem to be a tag team duo. I mean, that's at least $1,000 trip flying to Toronto from the West Coast. Maybe flights are super cheap right now, but then you got your hotel and your cab fees. They don't seem to drive. Probably a disability access vehicle, which probably is covered by the government. But the point is, that's an extreme trip to take. Couldn't you call sick kids and be like, I don't know if they divulge this information, but like, there's got to be some way where you could have made a better decision-making process along with this. But I'm asking a lot of the Yanives, I think.
Jonathan Yaniv was basing this trip on no phone conversation, no video of these two people, just a photograph of a person who does not exist. And probably there is no photograph of the daughter either, but just a suggestion. So he flew across Canada, 3,000 miles, to go and track down this child. That was what my encounter was on the streets of Toronto, asking why he was in Toronto, why he was going to sick kids hospital. And of course, he went into a profane rant and called the police and made the false police report. And then a few days later on Instagram, he had a rebuttal. And we're going to play that for you soon. And as Count Floyd used to say, whatever you do, kids, don't forget to put on your 3D glasses.
Count Floyd? Can we get a Wikipedia page for this?
Thank you, Ika, Simone. And yeah, everyone thinks that she catfished me. I mean, God, Rebel Media just wants to create these lovely stories that are total and utter bullshit. So, no, I wasn't visiting a minor. I was visiting my 19-year-old fiance. And, yeah, no.
Truly disturbing.
But and to all the little bitches over there that think I love you too. How you doing?
I feel like Joaquin Phoenix is playing Jonathan Yaniv. This is like an offshoot of the Joker. But I'm holding out for the Jonathan Yaniv book and or movie where it's like this was all a plan to expose Canada's tribunals as being a bad decision, and he's faking this whole thing.
You know what? I haven't actually, Andrew, connected the dots. I think there is a large degree of mental illness by both the son and the mother. But there's also a con going on. You mentioned how he's ripping off, he's certainly gaming the Human Rights Tribunal system to go after.
It's ripe to be gamed.
It is. That's why they exist. That's why they add new bureaucrats every year. Its number one goal of the Human Rights Tribunal is to grow the bureaucracy. But I'm still trying to figure out, behind every story, I don't care if it's business, sports, politics, you follow the money, right? And I don't know where the money is coming from unless they are grifting people left, right, and center on the internet. But when you see this mature man pretending to be a woman sitting in that hot tub, and it was the mother's hands, folks, that was doing the hair massage. I think if this is a movie, that's where that sharp violin theme comes into play. It is just so disturbing. I can't get that video out of my head. I apologize to our viewers who can't get that video out of their heads.
Yeah, our social media person just messaged us and said, "What are you guys showing? Do you remember his name? What's his name? His real name?"
No.
Anyways, some more super chats,
yes,
David.
And one last footnote on that. He claims he was filming that from Hawaii.
Ah, yes, the beautiful island of Hawaii.
We actually, from our sources out there, it's actually a a hotel or a resort in British Columbia. So he's kind of off by a few thousand miles there. But again, the pattern of lying and deceit and conning, he can't even be honest where it is he's filming his videos. Anyways, Andrew, some super
Leave
chats.
the lying and deceitfulness for David Menzies, okay? Nothing on that one? I thought that would get more of a reaction. Mike Sagan, not Tyler Sagan, the hockey player, $7. The Prime Minister has a new name, the Teflon Man. Everything slides off and won't stick. I believe that's Teflon Don. You're ripping off there, Mike, so better nicknames, please.
And I would imagine this is in regard to the We Charity. Now,
Of course.
his ratings in the polls did take a slight hit. I think it's a speed bump. I think he'll bounce back up. This wee scandal with every passing day, I think, Andrew, is becoming even more of a disgrace. Our good friend Joe Warmington of the Toronto Sun, he put some photos on Twitter yesterday. This should be front page news as far as I'm concerned, of we employees with bankers' boxes of documents carting them out of the WE headquarters at Queen and Parliament in downtown Toronto. It's kind of like, there you go. It's regime change, and the embassy staff is taking away all the incriminating evidence. And this is shameful that there's not already a police investigation that's been launched to prevent this kind of crap from happening.
They've taken notes from Hillary Clinton's campaign, I'd imagine, on how to do this. Just dumping buckets of water on their computers.
Yeah, and of course he'll testify, oh no, those were just the accumulated Christmas cards and birthday cards of the staff members. There was nothing to
talk about yoga, just like Hillary Clinton said. Apu Baker, El Puff Daddy, our most resilient super chatter for $5. David and Andrew, are you recognized? Actually, I missed one from him also, which was, so he's got two. What's the best part of your jobs at the Rebel? Obviously, making fun of David Menzies takes up most of my day. And that's the best part. The food, working with people who have opinions that are banned. And of course, like I said, making fun of David Menzies. What about you?
This is the best job in journalism I ever had. I love my time at Sun News Network. I think I'm even having more of a blast here. The staff is absolutely fantastic. We all get along with each other. And I love the idea that we have far less filters on us than any other member of the media. And as a matter of fact, I know our boss, Ezra Levent, has said this. He thinks that so many members of the mainstream media, part of the reason they hate us is just jealousy. We can report the truth. We can live up to our slogan of telling the other side of the story. And I'll tell you, Andrew, I have never been more busy in my journalistic career than covering this pandemic. And I'm not complaining. I would rather be too busy than sitting at home doing nothing, because that would drive me crazy. And also, one last thing, our viewership. When I go out to, say, the Queen's Park protest covers, where you have the members of Yahoo Nation, way to go, Doug Ford, the adulation, the love they have for Rebel News, it's actually very humbling. I love these people. Those who like us actually love us, and it's great to be able to deliver a service to such adoring fans.
And that ties into his next question. Shout out to Big Buff Guy, by the way, who's always at the protests. He's not in the back. I'm pointing to the camera. This device in front of us transmits our images to thousands and millions of people.
That would be Chris Sky and his companion, the lovely Miss Jenny. And it's wonderful. When I talk to them, it's like he's cutting a wrestling promo.
That's awesome. I'd like to see one of these promos. And the second question was, are you recognized in public when you go shopping or to the movies? Movie theaters don't exist anymore, sorry. And what are people's reactions? Well, clearly they love the Menzoid.
Yeah, I would say 99 out of 100 people that recognize us, they come up and it's to give a compliment. Typically what we get from the hateful left is a drive-by F-bomb or Nazi or something so ridiculous as that. And it's funny, all the time recognized in public, and usually it's by the friendlies, not the hostiles. And I have to tell you, there was this was a few years ago before I got into boycotting the Weston group of companies. I was in a No Frills in Richmond Hill, and a guy came up to me and he said, "Are you David Menzies?" I said, "Yeah, that's right." He said, what are you doing here? As though
I'm just a commoner.
Yeah, as though I should be at Pusatari's buying $26 loaves of bread. Hey,
Listen,
man, like everybody else, I'm on a budget too, right?
David, I live like 30 minutes away from you, and I don't know what a Pusatari's is. What makes you think other people are going to get that? Hey?
Well, they were in the news a couple of months ago because they jacked up the price of these sanitary wipes to $30.
Oh, that place.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong on this one. Aaron Smith, $5. That's effing gross. Please don't show that clip again. Roll it again. No, I'm just talking. I'm just kidding there. Alex Yelazarov, $5. Can you read through the Rebel News store as Alex Jones? David, tell us more about your glory years as part of the famed 80s Kings hockey team. If we want to pull up the Rebel News store, I can definitely.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got. We've got the China virus on sale. China virus book banned by Amazon. We're selling that again. They've banned it. They've unbanned us. They can't stop us. RebelNewsStore.com. What else do we have? FightTheFines.com. We're fighting fines all across the nation. We've got T-shirts, COVID 1984. We've got unfluoridated toothpaste. We've got bone broths. We've got Sell the CBC shirts and Wexit shirts. Look at that beautiful model there, available in all your sizes that you need.
InfoWars. That was a pretty good impression. Yeah, the my time with the Kings, and this is why I love our Rebel audience too. They are diligent fact checkers. We can't get away with any BS like Rosemary Barton gets away with the CBC. So I had mentioned a while back I was the first round draft pick of the 1980 LA Kings, and lo and behold, everyone jumped to Google, and I got all these messages. You lie! You disappoint me.
You disappoint us
Such
all,
and such was the first round draft pick of the Los Angeles Kings. I didn't say the Los Angeles Kings, folks. Joke's on you. It was the Lawrence Avenue Kings.
This Russian last name reminds me of like the Russians versus the Flyers in the 70s, where they get them to quit the game and they leave.
They left, and you know what brought them back?
Money.
Exactly. Even though this was Soviet Union communism, once I think it was Alan Eagleson explained that you don't get back on the ice, you don't get paid. Those comrades got back on the ice.
Please report to your local ice center. Vito Anthony for $5. David Menzies, arguably the most handsome man in the National Football League. That's interesting.
That must be another.
That's what it says.
Surely this is another phony NFL. It stands for something else. But he's
look for
written
David
National
in the
Football
Lingerie
League.
Football League.
Well, that is very nice of you to say.
Adam Clark, $7. Great questions last night, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
We worked our hardest to get those questions in. Aaron O'Toole didn't want to answer very many questions. Kane Edmark, $5. I think I need a trigger warning when you have that pig, John, LOL. Well, you're on first name basis with John Yaniv, so maybe you should message him directly. But talking about hockey, hockey's coming back.
I can't tell you how happy that after the word pig, it was Jonathan Yaniv's name and not mine. Anyway.
Yes. A pig man, Jerry, a pig man. Hockey coming back. Sunday is the first Leafs game that means something. They've had an exhibition game. I want to know, super chat us what you think. Is it too early for sports to come back? Do you think hockey players need to be wearing masks? Because hockey players don't have to wear masks, but MLB players have been wearing masks. We will get taken down. MLB is so strict with their content. I wanted to show there's an argument between an umpire and a manager where before they argue, they mask up and then they stand 6 feet apart from each other. To be fair, there is a lot of clips of managers and umpires spitting on each other, but like people playing shortstop are wearing masks. They're wearing masks in the dugout, which I guess makes a little bit more sense. But even executives sitting by themselves with nobody around them. Here's some photos. If we scroll down, we got a mask there. There was somebody in the crowd wearing a mask, like an executive.
Crowd?
Yeah, like that guy, he's a trainer or something. He's wearing a mask. He's 15 feet away from them. And then that's the one I saw, the fielder wearing the mask here. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you guys are isolated. You're tested like every day. But I guess on the other hand, you could argue the Miami Marlins has 17, it's either 13 or 17 people test positive. But still, in the end, most people who are dying from this is because of obesity or underlying conditions. We've still got a 0.3% chance of death rate here.
These are top athletes. They are young. Their chances of getting the Wuhan virus, well, let's put it this way. If you were to cross Front Street to get into the Sky Dome, you have a 6 times higher chance of dying than dying of this virus. It's a bit of a joke,
Sky
I
Dome,
think.
man. You're still holding on to that.
Oh, I'm not. Listen, Rogers pulled the heist of the century. They bought something that cost $650 million to build, and they got it for $25 million. Thanks for the business, suckers, and suckers are the taxpayers. No, I'm not going to.
Your brand loyalty here is
That's
strong.
right. Why should they get in? And the first thing they do is, put their ugly logo all over that stadium. A couple of things about sports returning. First of all,
Tell me more, David.
why is it that if we're to me, I think it is like really weird to have empty stadia and empty arenas.
Stadia? Is that stadium plural?
That's right. That's one of those $3 words I learned at Ryerson. Anyways, here's the thing, folks. Say the Air Canada Centre, Scotiabank Arena, New Maple Leaf Gardens. Okay, the attendance is 20,000. Why can't we reduce the attendance by 80%, which means 4,000 people get into the building? I think in a facility that seats 20,000, you can practice social distancing with only 4,000, and those tickets I know would be snapped up. And I don't understand why this can't be facilitated. We can do it in a Walmart or a Costco, but we can't up it in a larger venue for a place like Scotiabank Arena.
They fear people trying to shut them down. Like I mentioned before, the UFC, who has nobody in the audience and is tested like 3 times a day sometimes, they get hate mail from people who cover their sport and trying to narc them out to get it shut down. So Dana White says he's got a list. We've got another video, which is...
By the way, one day I'd like to get you in the octagon.
Yeah, okay.
Make a note of that.
Yeah, all right. You find an octagon and we'll do it. But you're just going to be like, oh, can we only do wrestling? Can we add Grease in there? There's a video of somebody in, I think it's a grocery store, chastising, as you've seen, chastising people for not wearing masks, yelling at a child for not wearing masks, and as we all know, there's an exemption for that.
Yeah.
And I think they tell them that they hope the family without mask dies. So if we can pull that up in moment.
You're not supposed to wear them. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Even the school requires children under the age of 10 not to wear them. So why would I make them wear them? Why? It's being ridiculous. You're being ridiculous. You take care of yourself. Bye. You're going to kill me. That's such a great thing to say to somebody. But I'm wearing a mask. Yeah, good for you. Bye.
Wow, it's kind of reminiscent of watching an old episode of Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Here in the deep, dark territory of Walmart, we have found a wild Karen in her natural habitat, screaming at others without a leg to stand on about obeying the Wuhan virus protocols. What would you have said in that situation, Andrew?
I usually, I've had people, not for masks, but in the past, somebody pulls up next to you and they don't like you're driving or something and say something to them. I just sit there blankly and wait till they're finished and then just laugh or just be like, is that it? Or you're not going, I'm not easily disrupted by random strangers yelling at me. Now, you mentioned Karen. We have gotten emails, David Menzies, from people named Karen wishing you would stop saying Karen. Well, so that's for your own consideration. But to do with the masks, we've got maskexemption.ca, and we've been getting a hell of a lot of emails about other cities people want cards for and advice on exemptions. And if you go to the website, I am told by internal sources here at Rebel News that we will be getting more exemption cards for larger cities in Canada. So if you're in a capital city, you're more than likely to have it, or a large city, Edmonton, Calgary, I'm thinking, maybe Ottawa. And then even if you're not in those cities, because we do get emails from, what's the most random city you can think of? Maybe Iqaluit?
I think there's...
Well, we're getting a generic one is what I'm trying to say.
I believe Point Alert might be the most, because this is where they're...
That's not a city. That's a military installation, David Menzies.
They still live there. And that would be, and so if the Soviets were flying over the North Pole, they're the first ones to know about it.
Yeah, so
there you go. A little history lesson off the cuff. What do you think about that?
I think you need traveling Wikipedia to get your references, and if the Soviet Union still existed, I don't think they'd be subject to our mask laws. So maskexemption.ca is where you can get that stuff. I think by tomorrow, at the very latest next week, we'll have way more mask things for you. I've seen ones floating around as well that I'm told were being handed out at Queen's Park, that people made their own as well.
Yes, that is correct. And
but buy ours, obviously.
I was given one. I hope I haven't lost that, but I can hardly wait for ours to come in. And yeah, because I had a really surreal experience on a Sunday. I came into the Petro-Canada in my neighborhood. I won't name the location. This guy is typically the rudest clerk I've ever dealt with. The rest of the staff is just fine. But he sees me without my mask, and he starts doing this.
I think he's telling you to put on aftershave, is what that means?
Or
Macaulay Culkin?
That's the great line that you don't think of in the heat of the moment. Like, oh, I'm sorry, should I go apply some of my high karate? For those of us who remember the early 70s and that being a hot
Of course.
brand.
Again, I keep telling you about these references. I'm only aware of that reference from other people referencing it and me looking it up, and I'm sure I'm not alone.
Well, it was an incredible marketing campaign. It was the idea you to put on high karate aftershave, and it was named that because females would be attracted to you so much that you would have to use karate moves to fend them off.
Oh, that seems offensive now.
Didn't work, folks, not in my case. Anyway.
Pink Phoenix Nails. We need a shirt, a David Menzies shirt that says, anyway, with his face on it. $5, great addition to the Daily Show. Great job last night, along with some compliments. Thank you. Last night's questions, David. What was your question last night, Darren O'Toole? Can you recap?
It was, and this is the one that he prefaced his answer with the words, good question. And I'm going to do Barry Horowitz pat on the back for that. It was, given all the scandals of the Justin Trudeau Liberals over the last several years since taking office, what went wrong for the Andrew Scheer Conservatives in 2019 in terms of their failure to get enough seats to form the government? And I wish Mr. O'Toole would, talk more specifically, right? But, and I'll throw that out to any super chatters out there. What do you think was the biggest fundamental flaw of Andrew Scheer? I think one of the biggest factors, Andrew, quite frankly, was the fact that he shunned us, Rebel News. He hired a liberal assassin, figuratively speaking, Warren Kinsella, to dig up dirt on Maxime Bernier. He embraced the mean girls of the media party, as our boss Ezra Levant likes to say, the Toronto Star, the CBC, the Globe and Mail. And all he did was, the mean girls still went after him for even the smallest scandals. Like, oh, was he really an insurance broker in his previous life? Did he really have the credentials? And for us, he shut the door on 1.3 million YouTube subscribers to Rebel News, most of whom I imagine are red meat conservatives. I think that was an incredible flaw on his behalf.
I think it was his blandness and other issues like him having dual citizenship. If he had just said once, if I become prime minister, I'll get rid of it. Imagine if Trump had dual citizenship. No one's going to trust you when you clearly have the interests of another nation in mind. Well, maybe I'll just fall back on my citizenship from another country.
But you know what? He deserved to be condemned on that for only one thing. He had condemned MacKay Jean, I believe, for having dual citizenship. I hope I got the name right there.
MacKay Jean?
But the thing is, how can you be condemning someone for that when you yourself, that is the definition of hypocrisy. So on that, the insurance broker thing, that was silly. But you can't be and did he think no one was ever going to dig up that information?
He should have tweeted last night something along the lines of, I would have shown up for the debate, or he should have offered to show up to the debate. I still think he should have come back into the running. Would have been a hilarious move. Dragon Joe, $5. I feel bad for Karens, but I doubt they don't say Chad or Stan as descriptors. I think the problem people have with Karen, besides obviously people named Karen, is that it's usually reserved for white women. So it can be weaponized by people on Twitter to specifically say, oh, if you're a white woman who has a problem with something, then you are therefore a Karen. I have a problem when people are just say that you can't criticize things, and that's basically what people are trying to do with Karen. Sometimes it's justified, of course, if some stranger is trying to yell at you and give you guff, is a good David Menzies word.
I like that one. Guff and no guff.
Yes, exactly. You should be able to be like, this person's being an annoying person who cares about stuff way too much. But also, if you're just reserving it for be like, this white woman has a problem with something, therefore she's a Karen and her opinion doesn't matter. Let's ruin her life.
You know what? You raise an interesting point, Andrew. I didn't know there was a race element to the whole Karen, I don't know if can't call it a slur really, but the whole Karen characterization. First of all, I'm really not sure how Karen was picked. Is that a predominantly white woman's name?
I would assume so.
There is a race element. You can't have a black or an Asian or a Hindu Karen or...
I just think I'm not the arbiter of truth in this, as Facebook and Twitter hold themselves to be, but most of the time it's a white woman, or maybe just white women complain a lot, who knows? But I'm not offended by it, but I can see as if maybe somebody's making a good point and they're just called a Karen just because they're a white woman and nobody likes white women on Twitter. I don't know.
And you know, I'm gonna say a little anecdote here. 2 weeks ago, I was at Shareway Gardens in the the West End of Toronto, and I had to go to Lens Crafters, and there was a Karen there who provided the service for my reading glass and sunglass needs. She was excellent, and I even said when she was ringing me out, I said, you are a good Karen. And she smiled, and she was perplexed too. How did my name get chosen? So I feel bad for the good Karens out there.
You're really trying to get some free glasses out of this, I think.
Oh yeah,
maybe
a pair of Oakleys would be nice.
You maybe want to mention Hakeem Optical or something?
Oh, I've got a Hakeem story, but I
Your
can't tell it
eyes
on
can
air.
have it all. That's free marketing for them. Bill Howie for $5. Reminds me of Howie Mandel. Can't a new IPGC debate be held at Rebel Studios using local talent to save costs? I mean, no. I don't know how big you think our building is, but it's not huge. And the reason that it was done at a hotel is so it could be super professional and not be made fun of by people like Peter MacKay, so they could be like, this isn't good enough for me. But he did that anyways. But no, it was a huge venue, very professional. There's a huge team set up. Super fancy cameras. I mean, they had Andrew Lawton in these super nice chairs. Andrew Lawton's way more professional than I am. Shout out to a fellow Andrew. And but long story short, no, we don't have the capacity to do it here. And not only that, I don't think Peter MacKay sees something at Rebel headquarters, he's going to be like, well, I don't support such fascism.
You know, it was a first-class presentation last night. The cameras, the lighting, the venue, the high ceilings. Could have used more food than those donuts they brought in. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, not enough food. Not here. If we had one here, there'd be tons of food.
Yeah, that's right. An army travels on its stomach, folks. But even our trained broadcast professionals like Justin were in awe of the professionalism that was presented last night. And so Peter MacKay, sorry that you had to do another self-inflicted wound by snubbing that debate. It could have been a really great show. We couldn't really do a debate with two, but we could have done it with three. So way to go, Peter MacKay. Or as the people on my streeters at Young Dundas said last night, Peter Mick something.
I don't have anything for that because it's too bad. Too bad of a joke. Peter MacKay he saw how Justin Trudeau won, and I think that's just what he wants to do. Nothing edgy or possibly in the field of being offensive. Just be like, I'm a handsome dude, which you're not as handsome as Justin Trudeau. I'm sorry. You don't have a sock bit either. Maybe you should come up with a tie bit where like he's wearing different ties all the time. But he's Peter McBland to me. He's not impressive. I was impressed with some of O'Toole's answers last night. More impressed with Derek Sloan's answers last night. If he won, I would consider voting for him. I don't think he's going to win. I would have liked to hear Leslyn Lewis's answers to some things. And more specifically, I wanted to ask Peter MacKay about his stuff that he's mentioned in previous debates where he said we have systemic racism in our justice system, keeping in mind he worked in the justice system and he wants to be head of the party. So I wanted to know what specific laws in Canada and in our justice system, what examples can you come up with which show systemic racism? He wasn't going to be able to answer that. I know that, you know that. And I even wanted to ask Dr. Leslyn Lewis about when she said, she did backtrack a little bit when she said, but she said there is a form of systemic racism was French people being forced to speak English, which obviously doesn't happen at all anymore, or even in the realm of it. In fact, we get tons of money sent to Quebec to keep things French, which I am fine with, by the way. The French are very passionate about keeping their culture, but don't be like, oh, people are forced to. It's like bringing up residential schools, which was like, yes, they were open until the mid 90s, but they were handed over in, I believe, the 70s to Native councils, some of which wanted to keep them open. For the record. Somebody tried to argue with me about that on Twitter, and they lost, David Menzies.
Oh, yeah. And so, in other words, a lot of those residental schools were opened under the reign of Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
If you look back and go look at Pierre Elliott Trudeau's policies, they're basically the same as they are now. You think that this stuff started happening. I thought this stuff started happening 5, maybe less than 10 years ago. Pierre Elliott Trudeau, you have such a great memory in your mind if you weren't really like an adult when he was around, but like he purposely changed immigration laws from being European to being specifically non-European, which is fine if you're going to make them even, but his idea wasn't to just like, let's spread it out throughout the world. There's other people, obviously, in the country of India, brings a lot of intelligent people with a lot of different skills to our country, but his idea wasn't let's even it out. It was let's completely change it into the reverse, which is, I don't know, very progressive. Calling the cops on David, Kane Enmark says for $5. What a no-no.
Oh, is this in terms of the Andrew Scheer appearance?
Maybe it was Jonathan Yaniv.
Yeah.
The cops called on you a lot.
Look at that. Look at the connection. Both Andrew Scheer and Jonathan Yaniv have had the cops called on me, except in Andrew Scheer's case, I was actually roughed up and handcuffed. So never. But then again, I was roughed up by Yaniv in the first encounter I had a year ago, August.
And by CBC.
No, I don't think CBC. Did CBC?
Well, when the cops that pushed you? When you were trying to interview Hockey Night in Canada? He's got so many. He's got so many things that he can't even remember.
Yeah, could you send another super chat and be specific of which physical assault you were referring to, sir? Thank you.
Lou Elaine gives us a straight $5. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
It's a good name. Viking Insane, which is a good name also for $2. I don't think the CPC will actually bring change. If Peter MacKay wins, probably not. I think they're basically in line with old-style Republicans is what they're trying to model themselves after. And if I could throw some shade at people from last night, I would say conservabros in high effect here in Canada. I didn't see anyone. I was the only one not wearing a suit. Let's just say that. And then they all congregate. I'm making so many enemies.
But you know what? I mean, I agree with that email, unfortunately, Andrew. I mean, I think with the way Justin Trudeau is still trending positively, despite what I think has been a horrible mismanagement of this nation due to the coronavirus, I don't see electoral success. I hope for it. I want it to happen. I think anyone representing the Conservative Party becoming Prime Minister and forming government is better than the Justin Trudeau Liberals. But maybe this, after having 2 humiliating defeats in a row, Andrew, this is what makes the party burn itself down to the ground and rise phoenix-like from the ashes, much like what happened provincially in Alberta.
Well, that's what I see Derek Sloan trying to do. He's trying to throw these knuckleballs, throw another baseball reference at you, a palm ball, as where he's mentioning us a lot, mentioning alternative media, saying stuff that people wouldn't normally say. Like last night, I asked him specifically to condemn Black Lives Matter, and he pretty much did. He said they've said horrible stuff. And then I was just like, give me your general thoughts. And he's like, yeah, they said stupid stuff and that I can't really support, but obviously they're basically a political organization now, which they are. And I think that's an interesting move to try to pull, and it will go through the future. But what I'm hearing from you, David, is that you're a big Jagmeet guy. You watched Jagmeet and his brother with their awesome after party where they were playing Drake, and it looked like, I think they had the best celebration of anyone. I would never.
Nothing could be further from the truth.
That sounds like systemic racism. Viking Insane again. Why did so many Anglos leave Montreal in the 70s? Well, that's interesting. My dad left Quebec in the 70s, but I think that was just for to get more work. I don't know. I wasn't alive back then.
Well, I can tell you what it was. It was, I believe, in 1976, November, the election of the René Lévesque Parti Québécois government, which was committed to separation. That's the platform they ran on, and that was a fear factor. Now, I can tell you, there was always a rivalry with Toronto, Montreal, who was the top city in Canada, in terms of population, business head offices, and it was kind of neck and neck. It was like maybe like 150 years ago, the comparison of New York and Boston, and then at one point New York just took off and left Boston in the dust. It was in the 70s that the tide turned in Toronto's favor. And, it was when a government committed to separatism comes in, business works, the stock market works on fear, on rumor, on innuendo. And you saw so many head offices relocate because they didn't want to be part of an independent Quebec, or, heaven forbid, be nationalized. And there's a great anecdote in Ken Dryden's fantastic book, The Game. And he talks about there was actually a Montreal Canadiens game that night of the election. And when the results came in and it was put on the scoreboard that the René Lévesque PQ government had won, Andrew, it was such an odd vibe in the old Montreal Forum. You saw half the people get up, standing ovation, and the other half in stunned silence. And that was a day that changed Quebec and Montreal forever. And I would argue that they're still recovering.
I would love to see a rivalry like that. In terms of the infrastructure, I think you can kind of see like when the stadiums were being built around the same time. But only condos get built now, as you know. Yeah. And I wrote down here, you said The Game, the movie, Michael Douglas. You ever seen that?
That's a great
It is a great
film.
movie. Finally, a reference that I can give him.
No, but I'm speaking of Ken Dryden's autobiography.
I realize that
Fantastic book. And a fantastic movie.
Yes.
Maybe one day you'll read a book and you'll see The Game.
Hello, I'm David Menzies. I have jokes. Jack Krauser, $7. The merchandise from the PPC is made in China. Do you think Bernier set up the party to steal votes? I mean, that's a possibility, but it's a big thing to undertake, forming a new party just to steal votes. They did screw him over, and they did quote-unquote spy on him, or lie about him, I mean.
Yeah.
What do you think, David?
I personally love Maxime Bernier. I think he's a great, solid guy. I know he would disagree with this, and I've questioned him about it. I think he was screwed by Andrew Scheer bringing in all those dairy farmer votes on the last day, winning the Conservative leadership nomination by less than 2% on the final ballot. 13 ballots, I believe it went to. I'm pretty sure about that. The thing is, what I wish Maxime Bernier had done was just zip it, be a good soldier, wait for the inevitable to happen, which was Andrew Scheer losing, because he would be the obvious default choice to be the leader of the Conservative Party right now. That breaks my heart. But Maxine sees it a different way, but that's my view.
I think he could bring in a lot of young voters if he was in this Conservative Party, which obviously I think the People's Party does go to a younger generation of quasi-conservatives, but they don't know who he is because the party is so small. And that reminds me, last night, young Kean Bexty told me that he thought I was 22 years old.
Oh.
So if you want to guess my age, win a super chat, do it. If you get it right, I'll admit it. But otherwise, it's a mystery. I'll go with 18.
Keep them guessing with Oil of Olay.
Speaking of birthdays, it's somebody in the organization's birthday today. Do you know who?
Oh, I do know who. It is our ace cameraman and editor, Mocha.
Yes, young Mocha. Mocha only, if anyone gets that reference.
I
He's
can
committing
hear the police sirens already.
Committing federal crimes over tears of Trudeau and Theresa Tam.
Oh my goodness.
Mocha's actually a silent celebrity. He's from Turkey. He's got 40,000 Instagram followers. He's got 200+ thousand YouTube followers.
Wow.
But a lot of it's in Turkish. You can get subtitles. I encourage you to go watch it. Happy birthday, Mocha. There's a cake coming, even though you didn't want it. Dave.
He's still going to have it. And Mocha, does he cut a look these days? He's wearing these 1970s aviator sunglasses. You feel like you're in a Charles Bronson movie, and it's kind of like you could see the narrator on the trailer saying, "You don't give any bull." to the man from Istanbul. See what I did there?
Yes, I do. The Death Wish movies are so violent and graphic. I saw those when I was probably about 11 or 12, and I thought it was just going to be this cheesy movie, but graphic killing, graphic sexual assaults, people getting hit with RPGs from 2 feet away through the side of a building. So surprisingly, old movie, but Death Wish, very good.
And it drove the Liberals out of their minds. When
That's
it came
hilarious.
Out, as did Dirty Harry.
Kane Enmark clarifying, Andrew Scheer before he hit you with his bust and called the cops on you. You're standing in the middle of the road.
Well, I want to have clarity about that. What that was, folks, is that we were forced out. When I say we, it was just me that day with my cell phone camera. It was in Whitby at a community center, a public community center. Now, I went into the room that the Conservatives had rented for the press conference, and all the mainstream media was there, and only I was told to leave. And eventually, an RCMP officer grabbed me and physically, that's the guy there in the black. Now, here I am. This is the common hallway of the rec center.
Look at that sheen on your head.
Yeah, it's just really reflecting. And the fact of the matter is, folks, is that, yes, that they rented that room, but they didn't rent the entire community center. So I just stood there in the hallway hoping that Andrew Scheer would come by and I would yell out a question to him. But even that was too terrifying and triggering for Mr. Scheer. So I was told after I ignored what the security and RCMP said, they called the Durham Regional Police. They were very nice officers.
Durham Regional Police is always nice somehow.
Yeah, no, they were very professional. They felt they were kind of embarrassed. Now, this is what happened right after the bus incident. What I did, because I couldn't ask my questions either in the room or in the hallway, and I couldn't even be in the parking lot, I went to the sidewalk where the laneway is for the bus to leave. Now, I did not throw myself in front of a departing bus. I was on the sidewalk. There is a stop sign at the driveway. So in other words, folks, if there was nobody standing on that sidewalk, nobody, that bus legally had to stop because there is a stop sign. And while it was there, that's when I yelled my questions. I had to yell them because I'm outside, Andrew Scheer's in the bus. And the bus driver, and I think this was really dumb of him, and I wouldn't do it if I was driving something as big as a Greyhound bus, Andrew. He was inching it forward, and so he was knocking me like that. I think that what the bus driver should have done is just drop anchor until the police come and sort it out. And that's when the RCMP tackled me. My cell phone went flying. I was handcuffed. And again, they call, and I said, well, what happens now? And they go, it's the responsibility of the local police force, Durham Regional Police. About 4 cruisers came. They were all great. They listened to my side of the story. And they said, sir, we see absolutely no reason to charge you. And they actually kind of felt bad for me and embarrassed that and I felt bad for them. I said, you know what, guys? You have your hands full with real crime in the Durham region, and I'm so sorry 4 or 5 cruisers had to respond to somebody practicing journalism on a sidewalk. So that's the story, folks.
You might say that going from waiting outside bathrooms to getting hit by buses is a crazy day, but not in the life of David Menzies. I remember seeing that video back when I was just a humble Rebel viewer, as editor Efron would say, humble everything. We got a few minutes left and a lot to get through here.
Oh my.
Any thoughts on the restaurant recently being burned down in Oakville with somebody writing BLM? I actually haven't heard about that, but Black Lives Matter protesters and Antifa do like burning and destroying things. I've been told and I've heard. I recently did a video about the denial by Nadler and the Democrats about the riots in Portland and everything. We took a lot of footage from Elijah Schaefer, so shout out to him. But that's a video on Rebel News' website and on our YouTube channel that we're showing a lot of the footage. Antifa uses like circular saws and they're pulling down all their fences. They threw explosives at them the other day. They had an explosive with nails in them, fireworks with nails in them, which is legitimately an IED. That's what terrorists do in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Good point. And let's not forget those 2 federal officers that might be permanently blind. I don't know what the latest is on their health right now, because
these peaceful protesters.
yeah, they shot lasers at their eyeballs.
And not to mention the cops that have died in the previous protests. There's Elijah. He's my boy. I'm a big fan of his.
But this is the unofficial militia of the Democrat Party, Andrew. They want this nonsense, this violence and vandalism and even death to keep going right up until November 3rd.
This is Trump's instigating this by sending his federal troops in. What do you want them to do? Just let them burn down a federal courthouse?
Yeah,
that's what, because the whole plan is to completely take over and replace it with communism.
And you know what? You nailed it there when you see the mayors of Seattle and Portland saying, the federal agents have absolutely no business being, in this municipality. They are idiots because yes, they do. Those are federal court. That's federal land, federal property. The U.S. government has every right to protect that property, especially when these knuckleheads are telling the police to stand down and they're not protecting it.
Got a lot to get through in very little time. Julian Borges, we'll try to skim through them all here. $2. Do you believe humans macro-evolve, i.e. Ape Man 2. Not sure. He's possibly talking about alien intervention in humans. Been watching a lot of Joe Rogan, and the guy briefing the Pentagon saying that they've recovered crafts that weren't made on this planet. So you'd have to be more specific, Julian. Oh, and also tell me if your name is Julian or Julian. I would say Julian because Borges sounds like an Argentinian name. Chris Marchese, $2. Who's worse, liberals or Democrats? I'll go first. Democrats are worse because they don't have an NDP to branch off their crazies onto. So I say that I would rather live 100 years under crooked liberals than the NDP, which is going to bankrupt us and turn us into like a communist utopia in their mind when it's just going to be word police and thought police and then envirofascism. Is that a term?
Yeah, the green police. Remember that Audi ad? One of the best ads ever.
He wants new cars. He wants glasses. Joey Hage, $5. Mad Max didn't have the necessary support, so he made his own party, and that party made history. Well, they didn't win anything, so not really, as much as I like him.
And you know what? And that, again, it is almost an impossible task force to run as an independent or create a new political party. It is a Herculean feat. And poor Max, he lost his own seat.
Yeah, and even, I shouldn't say even, but Jody Wilson-Raybould, no party wins her seat. She must be living the life. You don't have anyone to answer to. You make this big salary. You're on a beautiful island.
Yes.
Vito Anthony has a $2 question for David Menzies. Andrew Scheer, Alfred E. Newman or Elmer Fudd?
You know what? There is a bit of resemblance for Alfred E. Newman in physically, and of course, Mad Magazine went out of business last year because in this day and age, folks, you can't parody the world anymore. The world is mad. Pick up the front page of any newspaper. There's your Mad Magazine. Elmer Fudd, I think that's a reference to
Fudd?
No, Patrick Brown, the man who would be premier, because whenever you press him on an issue, he starts going into that beep, and sometimes he cries too. So a crying Elmer Fudd.
That reminds me, something I really quickly want to get to after this one, because it's just a compliment from Jack for $10. Andrew says, great addition to the team. Thank you. Keeps the information moving forward and does so with clever humor and wit. Keep up the good work, Andrew. Thank you, Jack. I've been told by young other David on our team that you do a spot-on Rodney Dangerfield impression. Can we hear that?
Really,
Can we hear it before we got 2 minutes?
Told I screwed up my Warner Brother Looney Tunes characters. It's Porky Pig that has the stutter, not Elmer Fudd.
Wow. We've really gone downhill with you, David. Kane Enmark, $2. Can you use the exemption card in Calgary? There's one coming for Calgary, as far as I'm concerned. It should be, I was told, if not today, then tomorrow. So I'll give us a leeway here by the very latest mid next week, okay? And if not, you can say, Andrew told me he's a globalist. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He wants to take away our freedoms. Lisa Pruss for $2. David, I love you and your fearlessness. Many blessings.
Oh, that's so nice. Who sent that?
From Lisa Proust, not Alex Jones.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Okay.
Any more super chats, young Justin? No, he says.
All right, so I guess this is indeed the last minute
Can
of
you
play.
close us out with Rodney Dangerfield?
No, I've got to work on that, and I've got to wear a red tie. And
I'm outraged here. I'm outraged. He gives 1,000 references. He wants sponsorships all across the city of Toronto. He won't give the audience Rodney Dangerfield. Next time you're going to do it, young man.
Okay. Yeah, no, I tell you, no respect. My uncle's dying wish was for me to be sitting on his lap. They were giving him the electric chair, okay?
All right, it's not that great. I apologize.
Mr. Producer says I should have done that. I apologize. Hi, folks. I'm David Menzies of Rebel News. I apologize for that terrible impression, but I was forced into it.
I'll do the impressions from now on. And we're getting the signal that nobody can stand David Menzies anymore.
What does the signal mean? Does it mean we're crazy, or does it mean to wrap it up?
It means they've had enough of you.
Both, according to Bubba Booey. Anyways, folks, that's it for our show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. A super special thank you for all those donating money. That's how we keep the lights on here. And until... one more super chat under the wire.
That gives me time to tell everyone to go to our Instagram page and follow us so that we can continue to beat the other political organizations and Instagram follower accounts. I checked CBC News yesterday. They have like 200+ thousand Instagram followers. Who's following CBC on Instagram? Shame on you if you do it. Two
more.
Mike G, $5. Seems weird that Rebel News is banned from a media event. Doesn't seem very inclusive. No, it doesn't. No. Isn't Trudeau all about inclusivity? It's inclusivity for thee, not for ye, David Menzies, as you would say.
Justin Trudeau is all about diversity, but not about diversity of opinions. You have to think in lockstep, or else you are persona or media non grata.
And Julian Borges, you didn't tell me your name or national origin. I'm disappointed. $2. Did we evolve from apes? That's the macro evolution. I mean, depends. Probably.
Well, I only get my information from the Planet of the Apes series.
Mark Wahlberg or the old ones, or the James Franco
the
one?
Classic stuff. And then the Franco stuff was okay. The first of the two.
Yes, very good. Closing out, thank you for watching. James Franco, holler at me if you have the time.
Yeah, so that's all the time we have now for Ape Talk, folks. Please join either me and Sheila or Andrew next Tuesday. As for tomorrow, Friday, or TGIF, it's Friday. Ezra Levant will be in this seat. Stay safe. Have a great day.
Hi, Sheila. Hi, Nicole.